Welcome to Buck This, where we fuel the stoke, catch some airtime, and unpack what it takes to live loud, laugh hard, and stay bucked. Let's drop in, baby.
What's up? Welcome to Throttle Thoughts. This is the part where you sit shotgun with me in my brain and I spiral for a couple minutes, so buckle up, y'all. All right, let's talk about community. Let's talk about giving fewer fucks. Dude, I went surfing with some homies and we were on an 8 a.m. surf trek, and out of nowhere, this guy dressed up as a nun comes flying down the beach. Like, I'm talking like one of those full spirit Halloween limited edition nun costumes. Like, the guy had his wetsuit underneath the robe. Like, he looked like he had just woke up, ripped 5 bong hips, and is just paddling out. No cameras, no friends with him. Dude woke up and said barrels for Jesus. Like, hand on the Bible, I swear to God, this is a true story. Like, just out here full robe shredding waves like Jesus is on speed dial. 0 fucks were given is what I'm getting at. I want to hang out with this guy. Like, I'm pissed that I didn't get his number or at least his name, because that's the energy I'm chasing. Being absolutely ridiculous, having the most fun, and not giving a single flying fuck about what people think. When I was a kid, okay, all right, we're gonna get kind of personal. I had way too many fucks to give. I was personally carrying all of my classmates' fucks in my backpack. I cared about what people thought about me, how I looked, what I said, was I too much? And I carried that shit into my 20s. Some serious emotional baggage I did not pack myself, right? Like, my childhood, rough, like, did not have a lot of confidence growing up. Buck, this whole thing. It's me rewriting that story. I'm taking back the power. I'm rewriting the narrative here, right? It's me looking at little Ariel and going, "You crazy little girl, we ain't taking shit no more." Right? If there's one thing I want Buck This to inspire you to do, it's to not let anyone make you think that your differences aren't awesome, right? Your truest friends aren't gonna just tolerate your chaos. They're gonna fucking celebrate it, right? Like my friend Emily, she just got married, okay? Beautiful soul. She literally put Chaz in her wedding photo album. Okay, that's the kind of people I'm talking about right there. The ones who see you're weird, you're wild, you're unhinged, and they're like, hell yeah, that shit's going in my wedding album. Like, I'm not dealing with hater energy anymore, right? I don't have the fucks to give anymore, because here's the thing. If you got haters, congrats. You're doing something right. Why do people hate? Because you got something they don't, right? Confidence, personality, right? So if someone doesn't like this shit, if someone's not getting down with Buck This, keep scrolling, sweetheart. Dudes think I'm weird for dressing up as Chaz. Boy, bye. Actually, wait, hold on. Boys. Okay, actually, boys. All right, I'm now speaking to all of the emotionally constipated boys. All right, AKA ya fuck boys. All right. I would like to personally thank you for all you are doing the Lord's work. All right, you are giving me great pointers for Chaz material. Okay, I'm out here dating for character development. I'm gonna cash out on all that fuckery. So keep up the good work, boys. All right, now ladies, listen up. The whole "I'm just a girl" thing. Okay, trash, garbage. We're done with it. All right, we are so capable of doing whatever we want. All right, you want to get into snowmobiling? Go buy a sled and join a club. You want a dirt bike? Buy a dirt bike, okay? Look on YouTube, how to dirt bike, find a crew, all right? Put yourself out there. You can get yourself into these motorsports by yourself. You can do anything by yourself. I want to see more girls in the moto world in the BMW, okay? Like, it is so much fun, and I want to share this with all my girlfriends. Like, are you going to make mistakes? Oh, hell yeah. Are you going to throttle your sled into the back window of your truck in a parking lot full of men? Probability is high. Am I speaking from personal experience? Possibly. But that's not a reason not to try, okay? Because one day someone's going to ask you for advice, and then that's when you realize, holy shit, I made it. And I know it's scary to start something new, especially if you don't have a whole lot of support. But from my experience, if something scares you, it's probably good for you. Your comfort zone's a beautiful place, but there's no room for growth there, right? So keep pushing, keep laughing, keep not giving a fuck. But most importantly, stay bucked, y'all. This is Throttle Thoughts, the part where you sit shotgun with me and my brain, and I spiral for a couple minutes. So catch you next time, folks.
You know that moment when someone says, "Hey, hold my beer." You know it's about to go down. Yeah, this is that moment. My very own Papa, aka the man, the myth, the legend, sit down for a chat and drop into some stories that probably should have come with a waiver.
Papa, the man, the myth, the legend. Thank you for being on my podcast. I was very nervous to ask you to be on here because I wasn't sure if you're going to be like, oh no, Bubba, that is just not happening. Oh, by the way, my grandparents call me Bubba.
I was going to say, who's this Bubba person?
Well, yeah, my grandparents call me Bubba, which I know is probably going to shock a lot of people because I don't look like a Bubba.
Not at all. But, just the backstory there is I went to the hospital within hours of you being born, and I picked you up, and I just said, oh, my little Bubba. I don't know why I said it, but I did, and it stuck. You've been Bubba ever since.
My whole life I've been Bubba, and I've always been very... I don't want to say insecure, but I've always just not wanted you to address me that to the world or like my friends because people just look at me and go, what? So there's that story. But thank you for being on my podcast.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here. I was honored that you asked me.
Oh, that's the best. That's the best answer. So I just want everyone to know who you are because you're my papa and I'm cool and I'm a product of you. So that means you're cool.
Thank you.
So I just needed everyone to know where I came from, which is from you.
Well, yeah. I guess, yeah. I had never thought about it like that.
I came from you. If there was no Papa, there would be no Ariel.
That's true.
And what a sad world. Okay, so
I agree.
I know, for both of us. Okay, so I want to talk about your career because every time I talk about what you did, everyone's like, whoa, that's so cool. I mean, I always tell people that you were an engineer.
Yeah.
And you worked on space shuttles.
I did.
So why don't you tell me about that?
Well, okay. I worked on more than just the space shuttle, but that was my first job in aerospace, was working on the space shuttles back in Palmdale. I was fortunate enough to work on all of them. And it was pretty sad when we lost a few of them, but that was a great job. It was probably my best job I ever had. I loved that job, but like all things in aircraft, certain things come and go. They quit building them, and so after building space shuttles for Rockwell, I jumped over to Northrop Grumman, and I worked for just about 30 years at Northrop Grumman on the B-2 bomber, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, Global Hawk, just a lot of different programs.
Wow.
Most of them people know about. They're not 100% black, but at the time they were black programs, which means you couldn't talk about them. You couldn't even admit that you worked on them if somebody asked you. And that's just about all I can say about it.
Okay, yeah, because you're high clearance. You're literally not allowed to say much else.
Well, exactly. I guess I can say that I worked on them because people know about them now, but a lot of the stuff I worked on is still classified. And
so cool.
Even though I've been retired for over 10 years, you sign a document. I don't remember the number, but there's a nomenclature that says, that for the rest of my life, I can't divulge.
And you're retired now.
Certain things. I've been retired for over 10 years.
Wow. So wrapping up all of your journey and your career, one word.
Well, I guess blessed. I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of great people. In fact, one of the greatest people I worked with was your Nana. I met your Nana through work. That's where I met Nana.
So cute. No dating app. You didn't meet her on a dating
app. No. We met at work the old-fashioned way. It used to be you met people at work or at the grocery store.
Let's get back to that.
But we met at work, and we've been married now for close to 40 years.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get back to meeting people the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I haven't had a dating app in 4 months.
Oh, well, congratulations.
Because I want to be just like you guys. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm not sure if there were dating apps back when I was, of that age, whether I would have used them. I can't say because they weren't there. I mean, there wasn't even an internet. Back then, per se.
I know.
So the only way you met people, and the majority of the people that I know met their spouses through work. Maybe they didn't work with them, but somehow through work they got introduced, somehow.
Yeah.
And that used to be the way that most people, you either met at church, work, or the grocery store.
But that is, in my opinion, that's like harder because that means you have to go up to someone and you have to talk to them, and you're not hiding behind your phone.
No.
And I feel like both women and men hide behind their phones now.
Well,
you know, so.
I'm glad to hear you say that because
yeah, I mean-
that's true. I think people, just in general, not even dating, just, I don't want to get into politics, but when you read a lot of the stuff that
Yeah.
people post, it's because they feel they can say whatever they want because there's no repercussions.
know.
You don't even know who they are.
I know.
You know.
Yeah. What's one thing that you had to learn the hard way in life? So,
Ooh, the hard way.
yeah.
Well, gosh, that's an interesting question. A lot of things I learned the hard way.
I know. Me too.
I think, well, I guess more by trial and error than the hard way is that you just have to take chances. You have to.
Exactly.
You've got to, like meeting somebody and going up and talking to them and asking them to go out on a date and go out to dinner and see a movie. That used to be the norm. You'd go to a movie and have dinner. And it was hard, because back then, 99% of the time, it was the man that asked the woman out. And I'll admit that growing up, whether it be junior high, high school, and even after at work, there are a lot of people through the years that I was attracted to and thought I was going to ask them out, but I never got the nerve to do it. And because nobody likes rejection.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard.
But I've learned that it's not 100% rejection. It could just be timing.
It's redirection.
And it could be any reason why they say no, but we take that personal. And I think that just through trial and error and through years, I've learned that sometimes you just got to go for it. And if it doesn't happen, oh well, it's not the end of the world. And that's the biggest thing I've learned is that these little things are just little setbacks. It's not the end of the world. Our life still goes on. We're still gonna, get up every morning and do what we do. And we shouldn't be afraid necessarily to take those chances, whether they're small or big.
My goodness, I love that. So take chances, folks.
Yeah.
What has surprised you the most about your life as you've gotten older?
As I've gotten older?
Yeah. Or just as you've aged like fine wine.
Well, thank you. It's interesting you're asking at this point in my life because I've had some physical difficulties lately. Nothing major, folks. I'm not, I don't have cancer. I'm not dying, but I have these small ailments. My back and my leg is numb, and just things like that. So I'm finding one of the things that I'm finding difficult as I age is just admitting that I'm aging. In my mind, I still think I'm 35, maybe 45, actually. Not 35, I'll say 45.
That's like me. I'm 31.
Yeah, no, I don't think in my mind I'm 35. I think maybe I'm more like 45, maybe 50.
Yeah.
Like when I first got the nickname Pops, I was like 48 years old. And I still think of myself as that person. And yet I look in the mirror and I go to do things and I can't do everything I used to do. I've kind of always prided myself on being pretty self-sufficient. Where a lot of people might say, oh, I need somebody to help me with this. I'll figure out how to do it on my own, without asking somebody for help, which is a big fault, actually. If you need help, ask for help.
Now I know where I get it from.
I have a hard time doing that, and I've never had to ask for help very often. And I'm finding the older I get, I have to ask for help more often.
That's okay though.
Yeah, I'm learning that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm
Right.
71 and I'm learning things every day.
So you're surprised how hard it is to ask for help.
Well, and just it's hard, to realize that I can't do everything that I used to do.
I know.
Like just yesterday, you and I were out cutting trees.
I know.
We had a tree fall during a big storm here on the property, and we had to take care of that. And it was I've done it by myself, and I can do it. But it was so much easier having you help me for those couple hours out there. We got it done twice as fast.
Yeah.
And I got to realize that.
Yeah. So we need to take more chances and we need to ask for help.
Exactly. I like it. Way to summarize that.
Okay. So backtrack and talk about relationships really quick.
Oh,
so
okay.
I want to know from your perspective, because there is like an epidemic of loneliness right now, and there's been a lot of studies out that have been saying that loneliness is like almost as bad. Loneliness is almost as bad as like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Like there's been studies that have come out that says like loneliness is really bad, right? And like, I feel like in the dating world, it's kind of hard out there, or just in friendship world too. Like I feel like people are struggling with relationships and how to keep genuine ones.
Right.
Like divorce rates are high. Like people struggle with relationships in this world, you know?
Right.
And so from your perspective, what do you think it takes to make a relationship last? And that doesn't mean romantically, that also could mean like friendship wise.
No. That's a good point, because I do have friends that I've had for close to 40 years or longer that are male friends and female friends. Well, you know, it's kind of interesting, and I hope your listeners or viewers don't take this wrong, but I really think that some of the things that have contributed to loneliness is social media.
Yeah.
You know, people are very comfortable sitting at home, whether it be on their phone, their iPad, their computer, whatever it is, and living their lives through that, not doing that social interaction. And COVID really hurt. You know, for 2 years, we weren't allowed to have social interaction, or at least to be safe, you weren't supposed to. And I think it's a lost art. Just conversation, small talk, being able to sit with somebody and have a conversation and not feel like, you know, you're either being attacked or you have to defend yourself. You know, it used to be people could just have difference of opinion and it didn't matter. I'm there again, not want to go down that, but I'm just talking the fact that I think social media makes people so comfortable on doing their entire life through their phone that there's a lost art on just small talk.
Yeah.
And interpersonal interactions face to face. And so when that happens, people get uncomfortable. You know, they don't know how to talk necessarily, because they're so used to just doing it through their phones. And I think that has to do with the comfort level. I think it has to do with putting yourself out there, taking chances. You know, everything we talked about earlier has to do with your personal relationships also. You know, I have to be comfortable to tell you, or you tell me, that I've done something that offends you. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. That's not what I meant to do. And let's work through it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just do that through their phones. They don't do it face to face.
Face to face. Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations with friends where we're texting and it gets taken the wrong way.
Yeah.
Because it's not face to face.
That's right. You can't look at somebody's facial expressions, their eyes, their body language, and like, you know, as you've noticed as we're talking, I'm doing a lot of this with my hands. I'm expressive this way.
Yeah.
You know, you're seeing that. If this was done on a text, none of that would come
I couldn't
through.
feel your presence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So eliminate hard conversations eliminate the phone for hard conversations.
I think so.
And then also maybe when you catch yourself in different environments, you're at, you know, your local ski resort, you're at the grocery store, you're at the bar, whatever, maybe talk to people you don't know.
Exactly. Go up to somebody you don't know, number one, or even if it's with the people you're comfortable with, sometimes, you know, I don't know. It just seems to me I don't see people, I don't know, because I'm not out there anymore. You know, I've been happily married for 40 years.
Yeah.
We don't go to bars. But, you know, it just seems like people
tend to stay in their own groups.
In their own lane. Yes, exactly.
And so let's challenge that.
Yeah.
Go up to somebody you don't know and talk to them.
Exactly. You see it happen all the time in the Hallmark movies.
I know. Right? We see it all the time in the movies.
Yeah. You watch a movie, whether it's a romantic rom-com or even the Hallmark movies over Christmas. How many times do we see the girl who's come into the country go talk to the farmer or the guy that runs the Christmas tree lot?
I know.
You know, and I know we're making fun of those movies, but I love those movies.
We should start living our own lives and do that.
Exactly.
And you can make new friends that way too. Girls should go up to girls, guys should go up to guys. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Okay, I love it. Those are great. I kind of want to pivot here and I want to talk about something, and I want to just toot your own horn here.
Now, I have a question real quick before you do that. Are you wearing a hat to mimic me? Are you trying to, you know, make fun of me? Or
I am wearing my own personal cowboy hat.
I know, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Papa, you always wear it. Like, I mean, I think...
we should let people know I'm not just wearing this hat for the camera today.
Right.
This is something for 40 years. That,
Papa is a cowboy.
Well, not really. Not really. I mean, have I ridden a horse before? Yes.
Yes.
You know?
No. Well, you're a different kind of cowboy.
Have I shoveled the stalls? Yes.
You're a different kind of cowboy, okay? But you're still a cowboy, okay? You're a different kind of cowboy, but you're still a cowboy. All right. You put the yeehaw in me.
There you go.
All right. Okay, so you always have a cowboy hat. And one of those things is anytime, like, you know, Nana and I are, when I hate it when you don't wear it because then I can't find you. Because you're like usually the only person in the grocery store wearing a cowboy hat.
Well, I usually wear it, but since we've moved, you know, we moved 4 years ago, Pacific Northwest now, and it is a little cold up here sometimes in the winter, and so I do wear a beanie sometimes.
Yeah,
now.
I know. I don't see it. I don't see it on you far as much when it gets cold,
Yeah.
just because you need to keep the ears warm. But yes, I am wearing one too, just because I want to be just like you.
Okay.
I'm not disrespecting you.
Okay, good.
But I'm wearing this in honor of you.
Okay, and I kind of stopped you, but you said something about you wanted to toot
I
my
want
horn?
to toot your
What?
horn.
What
I
does
know.
that
I'm
mean?
surprised that you cut me off there.
I know. Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
No one would ever. No one would ever cut them off as soon as they're saying they want to toot your horn. Okay, so I don't know how long this was gonna be. Like 10 years ago, so this is what makes you a real cowboy, in my opinion. Okay, you saved your house 10 years ago from fire.
Well, it was June 1st, 2013. So we're going on 12 years now.
12 years. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to tell the audience right now. It was summer. I had just graduated high school. I had just moved in with my grandparents. I was going to spend a summer with them before I went off to college. And then a huge forest fire rolls through. My grandparents used to live up in this really pretty rural mountain town in Southern California, and this fire was just ripping through the valley, and it actually ripped through the whole town, and firefighters came to our house and said, you have to leave. The fire is going to basically burn your house down. So you guys need to evacuate. And I just remember it was so emotional. I was like so young. It was just chaotic. I think I was even too young to even process what was happening. But you stayed behind for the entirety of the fire, and you were fighting like 40-foot flames by yourself. And it was a very emotional night. I don't think I slept at all that night because we ended up evacuating, and then power line was out. So we had no communication with you at all. So it was very scary. We didn't know what had happened. And so what made you stay when the firefighters told us to leave?
Well, it was an emotional day for all of us.
Sorry to bring it back up.
No,
I need people to understand why you're a cowboy.
Well, we lived in a high fire danger area. I realized that when we built our home. It was a home that your Nana and I built. We bought the land and we designed and built this home. And I knew at the time that it was in a high fire risk area. And I had a friend of mine who was a fireman, who was a captain, and he'd come up to see the house when it was done. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you have a couple of chimneys." That's a term firemen use about where a gully comes up, or you have an area that comes up toward your home. And there was two of these areas on either side of our home that came up. And he says, "Man, if there was ever a fire, it's really going to come up these gullies here." And he called them chimneys, and your house is going to be hard to defend. So I recommend that you don't put any landscaping right around your home. And I would also say, since you have a fire hydrant, I would do this and this. So he kind of told me how he thought I should lay it out. And so over the next years, I either purchased or was given different firefighting equipment. I had a box in the garage. I still have it. It's sitting right over there. And it was full of hoses, and I have a complete fire suit, helmet, everything I thought I would need if a fire came. And it just sat in the garage for years. And then the fire came. And you're right, the police department, the firemen, they all came through the neighborhood, said we had to evacuate. And I did evacuate you and Nana, 2 different cars. We loaded up a few things and,
I remember.
and sent you guys on your way. And what made me stay was the fact that I guess I had a little bit of confidence from my buddy, Bill, who was a fireman, who'd come up and told me that it wasn't impossible to save, and that if you did a few of these things, it would help. And so, I prepped my property. I didn't have any trees right next to the house. I didn't have any shrubs right next to the house. We did have 60-foot trees right 20 feet across the road from us that were a danger, but nothing right at the house. So
you had defensible space.
That's the term. Very good. So after you guys evacuated and all the firemen left except for one crew, because they determined that this whole hill was not savable, and so they just pulled out. I hooked up all my stuff the way had been told by Bill, and I also had laid it out years before when nobody was around, just to make sure it went the way he said. And I charged the lines. That's putting water in the lines, and sprayed it a little bit so I knew what to expect and how to
Bobby,
do
you almost
it.
manifested this.
So I did my prep, and so when the time came and it was time to do it, I had already done it, and I laid everything out, and then proceeded to fight the fire. We lost almost every house up on the hill.
Yeah.
That was hard, seeing my neighbors lose their homes. But I was able to save our house.
Yep.
And lost our shed and a few small things. But the house, did receive a little bit of damage. We had some cracked windows, but very minor compared to my neighbors who lost everything.
Okay, so you felt that you had done all this prep work. So you stayed because you thought to yourself, well, why would I do all that and not stay?
Yeah, exactly. I had all these tools,
Yep.
In the garage that I had accumulated just for this moment. Even though I'd never used them, in that situation, I've just practiced with them. I felt confident that I could do what had to be done. I'd never done it before. I don't know where that confidence came from, except that my friend had showed me and talked me through it. And so, yeah, that's where it came from. I felt like I had prepped and I was ready and that I could do it.
Those firemen came and they said, you got to evacuate. And you looked at them and said, buck this.
Well, there was an interesting story about that. I don't know how long you want me to go on about this.
When you were on the news for it.
Yeah, they came and did a story about me later and stuff. But the interesting thing was after you guys had evacuated and all the police and all the fire engine left except for that one, they started going door to door to make sure everybody had left. And I put my fire suit on and I hadn't gone out there yet. And a young kid, when I say kid, he was in his 20s, I could see him walking up to the door. And before he even knocked on the door, his hand was up. I opened the door real quick. And of course, I'm wearing an outfit. I look just like him, almost, an older version. I've got the whole yellow suit on and the helmet and everything and the goggles. And he took a step back and I decided I'm going to take the offensive. I'm not going to wait for him to ask me anything.
Yeah.
And I stepped out on my porch and I pointed over to the hydrant and I said, "Are you guys hooking into that hydrant?" And he goes, "I don't think so." And I said, "Okay, thanks, I am." And he just turned around and he almost ran away back to his engine, I'm sure to go talk to his captain.
You're like, oh my God, this guy's staying behind.
So as soon as he left, I went out in the garage and got all my stuff and went down to the hydrant and started hooking up. And as I'm hooking up, the captain off of the engine came over and he goes, "So I take it you're not leaving?" I go, "Nope." And he goes, "Well, you look like you're well prepared." And I go, "Well, I hope so." And he goes, "Yeah, I hope so too." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Just so you know, we're not here to fight the fire. We're leaving too, and you're going to be alone." I said, "Okay, I appreciate that. You let me know." And then they took off, and I proceeded to do my thing.
Papa, the mental capacity for all that's just insane.
Yeah.
So, okay, these 60-foot trees, when they're across the way, and you're actually in the middle fighting this fire, it's here. Your neighbors' houses are burning down around you, and these 60-foot trees that are 20 feet away are in flames.
Yep.
What are you thinking? I'm so sorry to bring this up, but
No. And
this is stuff that like not your average person can handle.
Well, it happened, and I'm wetting everything down. I'm wetting my roof, and I'm wetting the trees, and out there, and it was probably right at the apex of the most vicious time of the fire.
Yeah.
And it's there, it's happening. And, flames are all over and all around me. And propane tanks are exploding. It's like a war zone. In my mind, that's what I thought.
Oh my God.
And as I'm standing out in the middle of the street, fighting this fire with my hose, it goes dead.
Oh, I remember you told me this. I almost
The water went down, boom. And I'm standing there with a hose that is no good. And I'm like, what? And I didn't expect that. And this is probably the only time during the whole incident that I'm not going to say I was scared, because if you're scared, I think you lose all sense of what you need to do.
Yes.
And so what happened was I dropped the hose. I ran over to the side of the garage. There was an L shape where the house and the garage met, and the way the wind was blowing, it protected just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I ran over there, and I went, oh, shoot. And I took a couple of deep breaths, and I waited, about a minute or so. I'm going to say a minute went by. And then I laid out all my garden hoses and had them ready in case I needed to use those also for little spot fires. And so my garden hose was laying there, and I don't know what made me do it, but I picked it up, and I pulled it, and water came out. And I went, I still have water. I go, something must have happened at the hydrant. So I took that nozzle, took a couple of deep breaths, sucks of water in because I'd been taking a lot of smoke.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Took a couple big drinks, totally got wet, and then proceeded to run through the fire over to the hydrant. So I get to the hydrant, and what's happened is I had been told that I have to coil the hose around because you don't want to kink because that stops the water flow. And so I had done that. Well, the way the wind was blowing, it was blowing all of the embers right into that bend in the hose, and it had burnt through the hose. I didn't even realize that a fire hose would burn through, but it did. I guess I was supposed to get it wet, and I didn't know that to kind of stop that a little bit. So water is just shooting out of about 3 feet of the hose that is still attached to the hydrant. Just shooting out. So I had hooked in what was called a gated Y in case the fire department showed up and they wanted to hook in. So it was coming out of 2 areas. So I just closed it. Now
You can hook into the other part.
Well, but I can disconnect that one though too. So what happened was now I had to run back through the fire, go to my garage, get another piece of fire hose that I had because I had more than what I'd put out. I had extra backup. So then I ran back over to the fire hydrant, disconnected what had burnt through, connected the new hose and ran that back over to the front where I was at.
And then you're back in action.
And then proceeded to
And then you
continue
felt better.
there. Yeah. Oh yeah. As soon as I saw that I hadn't run out of water.
Yeah, that you regulated real quick.
Then, I went, okay, I've got a plan. And, and it just, when you're doing something and you're busy, you don't have time to be scared really, or even think about it. You're like, okay, I've got to stop the water. I've got to run over here. I got to do this. I got to come back.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing all that. And then I'm fighting the fire. And then, fire is an interesting thing. It generates its own wind and its own weather, so to speak. And so it blows through. It's like a freight train. It was so loud and it was just vicious. And so I'm out there and then all of a sudden it's gone. I mean, everything's still on fire.
Yeah.
But the big whoosh of it, the head of the fire is moved on.
Because it moves.
All I did then was I had a shovel and I went around and just threw dirt on some little spot fires and stuff. And I was fine.
Papa, that is so buck this. Yeah, honorary cowboy badge. That's the most.
Well, thank you.
That is
honorary fireman badge.
Honorary fireman badge, honorary cowboy badge, honorary buck this badge, all the badges in the world to you on that one. That is just insane.
I will say that when my fire captain friend Bill came up like a week after the fire, he came up and he looked at the destruction and he saw how the fire came up those chimneys like
how he had predicted.
And he started looking around and asked me where I was standing, what I was doing. He just shook his head. He said, it's unbelievable. He goes, I know firemen that have been through training and can't stand there and face it the way you did. So he gave me a good pat on the back and said I did a good job, saved my home. So
well, now I know where I get it.
There you go. I just want to say that I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I don't talk about this a lot, but you asked, and I'm not going to pull punches and talk it down. I'm going to tell you that it was terrifying, but at the same time, when it was all said and done, I felt pretty good, about the fact that I didn't let it get the best of me.
Yeah. Okay, so wrapping this up here, we're taking risks, right?
Yeah.
We're making small talk with people we don't know, and we are having lots of courage to face things that are really scary in life.
Well,
and when someone tells us to evacuate in life, When we know we're extremely prepared, we say buck this.
Okay, I was going to say, I hope you say be prepared, because I was prepared.
You were prepared.
And
when someone tries to tell you evacuate your life, when you know you're prepared, you look them in the eye and you say buck this. And you do it.
Yes, 100%.
Amazing.
Buck this.
Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. This is my papa, and I love him a lot, and you probably love him a lot too now. So later.
Well, I appreciate you asking me to do this, Ariel, Bubba, and I hope some of this is usable.
Amazing.
That's your full throttle session. If your life's not a little bucked, are you even doing it right? Catch you next episode, same stoke, new shenanigans. Until then, stay bucked, y'all.